Welcome to GadgetGuideUSA. Thanks for watching my DiggCams Nano Q dash camera product review. As you can see here, it's still in the packing material from China here. Essentially, all I did was cut out my personal information and the shipper information, but as you can see, I got a little bit overzealous when cutting that off and left some scratches on the box. I'm going to assume I didn't damage anything inside, as it doesn't look like it punctured the box. But we're going to go ahead and do the unboxing now. I haven't began to review this product yet, but we're going to go ahead and open it up, talk about what I see, and then I'm going to do a live product demo and show you some recorded video from the thing. So right away, you notice the Nano Q dash cam looks like a solid box. There's the cuts I made, so can't blame them for that. But it has some stuff on it. It says it has a 1.5-inch TFT LCD screen. Gives you the 1080p at 30 frames per second or 720p at 60 frames per second. MOV file format. Holds up to 64 gigs. In a single SD card, so we definitely like that. And then it goes over some of the features. Low lux image sensor means low light. Some lens stuff, 135 degree, which seems relatively large. Superior capacitor battery. There was some issue with some dash cams, I guess, exploding in the dash. Not this particular dash cam, just other dash cams, so maybe that has something to do with it, but I'm not really sure. Seamless loop recording, which most dash cams have, meaning that once your video card fills up, it'll start deleting the older ones. G-sensor protecting, which is like if you get an impact, it will lock that video to make sure it doesn't over-record it in case of an accident. Wide dynamic range, LWD, I'm not sure what that means. Screensaver, microphone mute for privacy. GPS logger with compatible player. Compatible with GoPro mounting system, which seems like an abnormal feature for a dash cam, but we'll get more into that. Parking guard low frame recording, which means that when a parking guard is detected, it can go to a lower frame mode if you so choose. That way it definitely won't run out of space and record whatever's important for you. An easy CPL filter mounting. I don't have the CPL filter, but that is supposedly the CPL filter for other dash cams helps with like glare and things like that, especially if you have a really shiny hood and it's the wrong angle and the sun's beaming right into your camera. A CPL filter is supposedly able to help. I don't have much experience with that, but I figured I'd toss that out there. Pretend like I know something. Alright, so we're going to open it up, and first thing we get is the more than a dash camera, the Nano Q dash camera owner's manual. Looks like we have a lens cleaning swab, so we like that. Safety. So we're going to go ahead and pry this open now. Wow, that's tiny. That is really much smaller than I expected. Looks like it has some type of HDMI port to run out to a TV. Looks like there's the SD card slot. It's set on the box. It supports 64 gigabyte cards. Looks like that's I'd guess an audio out, and then a micro USB to power it, of course. And I imagine somewhere in there is a CLA. So it has an arrow. Go ahead and, oh, okay, so that slides right off, and apparently that's like a screen protector there. So we're going to go ahead and peel that off, and let's go ahead and see if it has any power. Nope, it did not come charged, which I don't consider a minus against it. I don't know. I've had it for a while, so it could have died while it was in the box, but at the same time, I'm going to get it a charge up and test it out live in my actual vehicle. Looks like, oh, that is a GoPro mount. That's what they say. So this is going to slide right into here to this, as some connectors. I'm actually familiar with this little box here. That's the same box from a Mini 0806, and it's the GPS component of the Mini 0806. So I'm guessing it's like the Mini 0806. This is a GPS component, and everything else is stored there. We definitely like the GPS logger feature. So it looks like that mounts in nice and easy, and then that is a generic GoPro connector. So you could actually connect this dash cam to anything like a GoPro chest mount or a GoPro headset or whatever you have for GoPro. I do have quite a bit of it. I can't see a use for it, but hey, flexibility is always a good thing, even if I don't necessarily think I'm going to use it. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and open the next. It looks like it comes with the CLA. And of course the micro USB charger, so let's go ahead and pry this stuff open. And so it looks like it has a CLA there. So it looks like this is a data transfer cable, most likely to connect it to a PC, so you can offload video without having to have all the SD card things. So we like that. And then of course here's the CLA, and that looks like it's a nice long cord, just in case you need to put your dash cam somewhere abnormal. So we've seen everything in the box, and the next step is I'm actually going to, give this a good charge. I'm going to take it out on the road, and I'll splice some of the actual dash cam footage into the video so you can actually see it live. This is some type of lens cover. You see it has these 4 things that lock in there, and then so it does have a lens cover, I guess, for safety. I'll probably never use it, but at the same time, having things for other people to use or flexibility in the future is always a good thing. Even if I'm not going to use it, hey, you might. But it looks like it has decent range of motion there, and it's really small, so I definitely really like that. This is the smallest dash cam I've gotten to review, and it says it takes 1080p video, but when I do the live demo, I'll let you be the live judge of that. We'll be back. I did notice that I missed something when I was pulling out of the box. It didn't come with any adhesive, so I came back when I was testing it out. It does look like it comes with an extra swivel here, a couple adhesive pads. In addition, it looks like it has some adhesive hooks. So I figured I'd mention that was in the boxes. It's relatively important. I came back to look for it when I couldn't mount it in my car. And this is a live test of the NANO Q or Mini 0903, whatever you want to call it. Essentially, I'm out here near the industrial park, near close to my studio, and just kind of taking it out for a spin. It's currently operating in 1080p at 30 frames per second, which is the maximum resolution. However, it's really handy, it's really tiny. Currently, I have it mounted directly behind my rear view mirror, so I really, aside from the cord that it's plugged into, I really can't see anything. I do have speed stamping turned on, so you can see how fast I'm driving. That kind of gives you a relative idea of the quality of the picture taken at the speeds. It's shooting 30 frames per second, so there will be some blurred edges, but at the same time, 1080p, 30 frames per second is more than I require as far out of my dash cam. In the $90 price range, I doubt you're going to find anything similar or close, but if you want to pay quite a bit more, almost twice as much more, you can get 1080p at 60 frames per second. However, I really don't see the reason. I'm just taking a spin now. As you can see, I'm doing about 55 on my speedometer. I'm not sure what that speed stamping says, but I'd rather not look at it, so I can maintain safety. But the best way to normally judge like resolution and the quality is, how legible is the writing of the signs. Like that sign says left lane must turn left. To see if you can read the signs, and especially license plates would be extremely important in an after accident report. In addition to the time stamping and the GPS stamping, it's really handy. One other thing of note that I really was neat, and I guess I'm easily amazed, is that the cigarette lighter attachment in the back of it has a slide out USB port. So you can slide this cover out of the way and have an additional USB port to say charge your phone, so you don't lose your entire cigarette lighter to so you can still charge your phone and power other devices or whatever you else like to plug in. I guess it's a simple feature, but at the same time it's the little things that count. So we definitely like that. Even if you're not planning on using the USB port, hey, it's there. And flexibility is never really a bad thing, even if we don't use it. I'm driving a Toyota Scion, relatively new, so I would consider this a pretty quiet car. So just to give you an idea of how much sound it's going to pick up from the motor itself. On a lot of cheaper dash cams, the motor can be overwhelming on the audio. But I'm going to let you judge for yourself on what you think the cutting out the engine noise is. Like I said, this is a Scion, so it's relatively quiet. So if you have a car that I would consider loud, of course you're going to have more audio problems. Overall though, it was really easy to set up. Essentially I've set it behind my rearview mirror because I've set all the settings I need to set. I have the loop recording, I have the G sensor setting, I have the time and date and the GPS and the speed. And all that set. So once you have that set, there's really in my mind, there's no reason to play with it. I mean, you can take photos and all that, but it's not something I plan on doing. However, I really need to, I can, reach up behind the rear view and push the OK button to take a photo. But, I just didn't make it convenient because I kind of want it out of my way. I don't want to be distracted with the dash cam. In my opinion, a dash cam should be sit and forget. You should set all the menu options. You should put a memory card in it. You should plug it up on your dash and not even remember it exists until there's a reason for it, which would most likely be a collision, or hopefully I caught something cool on tape so I can post it on my YouTube channel or something along those lines. But at the same time, I like the sit and forget method because I'm lazy. But for those people that are more interactive, want to play with their dash cam, there's all kinds of things you can do. It has the GoPro mount, so you can adjust the angle up and down. Like, I guess I'm going to adjust it right now. could sit here and adjust it like that, and I guess if you really wanted the perfect angle, and you could take photos and do all kinds of stuff. I'm not very interested in that kind of thing, but hey, like I said, flexibility is always a good thing, even if I don't plan on using it. And at this price point, around the $80 to $100, $90 price point, it gives you all the bells and whistles I really feel like you need for a dash cam. Online, I guess there's some complaints about the focus. I don't see any issue with the focus whatsoever. But some people may be pickier than me, and it all depends on distance. So I feel like it's set perfectly, but you may have a different opinion. So we're just basically riding here. As you can see, it's a really rainy day, so this is going to give you a good idea of what it looks like in poor weather conditions. I mean, it's not raining too hard, but it's pretty dark, it's yucky out, so you can get a real idea of what it looks like in use. Overall, though, I'm pretty satisfied with it. I've already actually ran both a day and a night test. However, I accidentally recorded both of them by formatting the card when I meant to format a different card. So it's unfortunate that I don't have both day and night driving, so it's kind of like in a pinch situation. I'm just getting the getting the video I need, so you have a live example. But being in the rain probably isn't the best, as you have the windshield wipers in your way. You're not going to be able to see the full resolution, and in addition, sometimes bright lights can cause problems with cameras. I really didn't see that as an issue on this one, but should you have that as an issue, you can always buy the CPL filter, and that'll work out some of the light problems. I'm not very familiar with that. Like I said, I'm kind of a sit and forget guy, but overall I'm pretty happy. The 1080p looks nice. The set and forget method is what I really prefer out of dash cams. I don't want to have to mess with this thing ever again, and I don't feel like I'm going to have to. And we're back up to wrap up this Nano Q, or the Mini 0903 product review. As you can see here, I've kind of got everything that we went over out of the box. Of course, it came with 2 adhesive strips, but I've used one. Just a note, that adhesive is way stronger than I expected. So strong, though, that it kind of made me break this box a little bit. See, as these little screws have kind of stripped it out. That's from, I had the adhesive there, and I've taken this on and off the adhesive pad about 5-6 times, so I assumed that the pad was getting unsticky. Because I kind of tested it with my finger, and then I attempted to pull the GPS box using this GoPro handle, and don't do that because it will break. So once you stick it up there, just be sure to pry it from this bottom board. I mean, it still works fine. I mean, electronically it's fine, but you want to be careful, as there's this cable that goes in and it locks into a GPS chip in there, and if you pull it out and rip that cable, then your GPS link is no longer going to work. Another thing to mention is that this GoPro mount, although it does have a GoPro mount, and I was thinking, oh, you could mount anything with GoPro, due to this little cable here, you really can't do much with it. So even though I did test a GoPro mount, it fits fine, you really have no way of powering it if you connect it to, say, your bike or whatever else. In addition, you can't use the GPS part. Because of the way the GoPro mount is. So I imagine there might be some way around it, but at the same time it's probably not worth it. So that although it is a GoPro mount, you really can't use it as a GoPro. It's not a big deal. It's just a mount now. But I just figured I'd mention that if you're planning on mounting this to whatever your GoPro device is, you're going to need USB power. This thing doesn't have its own individual battery. But that's minor. So just ignore the GoPro part that I mentioned in the first part of the video. Other than that, this is a really, really solid dash cam. Especially considering the price range. I mean, it's not the best dash cam in the world. You're not going to be like, oh my god, there's no better dash cam than this. But it is quite a bit cheaper than the best dash cams. This one comes in around between $85 and $100 or somewhere in there. I think it was $91 or so on Amazon, and cheaper at DiggCams, which I think it was $89.99 or $84.99, somewhere around there at DiggCams.com. But I mean, it's a solid dash cam. I have this simulated power here, so we can go over all the stuff, and we're going to get more into that. One thing to note, it does come with these cord organizers. This is a really, really long CLA cord, which is great if you need, 6 feet of cord. I don't in my vehicle. I essentially plugged it right into the CLA and ran it right up, and mounted the dash cam directly behind my my rear view mirror, so I don't see it and it doesn't bother me. I really don't want to play with it because it has like a set and forget attitude. Once you have all the menu settings set up like you want it, you really don't have to mess with it unless you want to say mute it or change the resolution or do something like that. I'm not that type. I just want it for safety. I want to connect it, and the only time I really want to have to use it or even touch it is if I had a collision. And I didn't have a collision, thank God, so you know, I didn't necessarily need it. But it all comes down to personal preference. Some people like to play with them. You can take stills by pushing the middle button, and we'll get more into that. So if you're going to want to take pictures for whatever reason, then you're going to want to put it in a place where you can actually see the screen and play with it. So essentially what happens is once it detects power, which I just have it set to a, you know, like this is plugged into a phone port, you know, so it's live USB, it automatically comes on. Oh, got it upside down here. And you can see here there's this little red dot. That means it's recording. You can push this button right here for a short press to turn off recording, or if you hold it down for 2 seconds, it'll actually take a picture. So you just long press this, and it took a picture. There's this little symbol here I'm going to show you. It pops up right there to let you know it's taking a picture. So there's a microphone sound. If you hold up for 2 seconds, it'll mute. Just in case you want privacy while you're talking. And at the very top right there, it shows you that I'm filming in 1080p 30 frames per second. Of course, you've already seen a live demonstration, so you can make that judgment for yourself. It has the loop recording setting to 3 minutes. But essentially, when you have the parking guard set, and you set up the G's for impact, a little lock symbol will appear right here. And essentially what that means is this video is locked, meaning as it revolves, if you fill up out of space, it will not delete that locked one. And what that for is just in case you get into a collision and you don't have time to like stop it from recording, you get into a collision, it detects it. Even if it keeps recording, it will not record over the collision data. So that's actually really important for a dash cam to make sure, because I mean, if you get into a wreck, you may not be able to stop recording. These cord protectors are important. You're going to need them because the cord's so long. But you know, we love flexibility there, and it does come with them, so we like that. We're going to go ahead and get rid of that. It does come with this additional mount right here. I don't know why you would use it because of this, it has this cord here. So you really need to use that, but at the same time, if for some reason you want to use it, that's fine. It comes with additional screws and an additional adhesive pad. As you can see, I didn't use this myself because I have a ton of these. I get sent all kinds of items, but at the same time, a lens cleaning cloth is important. You don't want to get that lens scratched up. So if you do scratch the lens up, it'll permanently affect your video quality. So use that if you ever need to clean the lens for whatever reason. So this is the GPS mount. If you want to use GPS stamping, it's very important that you have this locked in. I feel like GPS stamping is one of the best, if not the best feature of this dash cam. That way you actually have GPS coordinates should you get into a wreck. So that way you have, you know, verifiable coordinates to say I was here and doing this speed. In addition, it does have speed stamping, which, you know, along with GPS stamping, speed stamping, and an actual photo could be very assisting in proving that you are not the cause of the collision. But we're going to go ahead and go over the menu settings now. While you're recording, you can't go into the menu. You have to push the OK button right here to stop recording. That red light turns off, and then hold the up arrow for 2 seconds, and it's going to take you into the menu. So we have the Wi-Fi host option, and what that is you can actually use Final Cam, which is a program free on the Google Play Store, and you can actually use your phone to log into this camera and then watch videos or download videos from the SD card directly to your Android device or iDevice or you know, whatever your preferred device is. So that's really handy. Video resolution, it supports quite a few. You can go 1080p at 30 frames per second, 720p at 30 or 60 frames per second, and then VGA, which is like standard definition 640 by 480. So you got some options there. Of course, I want to record in 1080p because, you know, I like, just in case I do get into an accident, you know, that I have maximum resolution. But if you have a smaller video or a smaller SD card, or you really don't care about the resolution, you just want a rough idea of what happened, you know, you can set it to VGA to save quite a bit of space. Quality, I didn't really mess with that. I left it on perfect. But you can turn the quality down in order to save more space. Once again, if you have a smaller SD card. White balance, I have it set to automatic, but you can set it to however you want. There's quite a few different ways to set it, and all that is like changing the contrast of the video taken. Exposure compensation, Once again, I played with this, however, I didn't really make a great difference. So it's just the exposure time. And you know, you can adjust that as far as personal preference. Flicker, we're in America, so we want it set to 60 hertz. If you're in Europe or not in America, if you're in Canada, Mexico, United States, you're going to want to use 60 hertz. LWDS, I couldn't, when I started, I didn't really know what that is, but what that is the lane detection. So if you turn it on and you're going along a straight line and you start to plow into one of the lines on the other side, if it's a solid line, it will detect that and give you a beep. I really don't like that feature very much, but at the same time, hey, flexibility is always a good thing. If you want to use it, go ahead. Rotate image 180 is so you can put the camera this way. Of course, I mounted it on my windshield here and looking out behind my rear view mirror, perfectly hidden, which was what I prefer. However, some people may want to mount it to their dash and look at it this way, you know, this sitting on your dash and it going that way. If that's what you prefer, that's fine, and you just select this rotate image 180 and it'll go right away. Loop recording is setting the loop. It essentially, when this records, it records in segments. So you're controlling how long the segment is. So if you set 1 minute segments, it'll record 1 minute videos, and then when it gets full, it'll start deleting the oldest 1 minute video that's not locked by Parking God. Motion detection is exactly what it sounds like. The boot sound is makes a noise. I imagine you heard it when I started it. You can turn that off if you like, I don't care. And then the LED indicators you can turn on and off, which is this. And then blue indicator, more indicator control. Screen off delay, same thing. I mean, it's set to 10 seconds by default, meaning you start your car, the screen is on for the first 10 seconds. You can see that it's recording, then it turns off to not bother you. G-sensor sensitivity is what we need to set in order to lock the video. So like I mentioned earlier, if you get an impact, it'll lock the video, make sure it's not recording. You want to set the G-sensor to whatever you want. 3G is by default, 2G is the lowest, and I think it goes up to 4.5 Gs. Or you can turn the G-sensor off completely. I like to set it to 3Gs just in case of a collision. GPS stamping, you have 3 choices. You can either log only, which is what I have it set to, and it has a file on the SD card that gives you the GPS log, or you can set it to stamping, which actually stamps the GPS coordinates of where you're at directly on the video. In the bottom corner, or in the bottom half, it'll show you the longitude and latitude. I prefer the log, but if you'd like to stamp it on the video, you're welcome to. You know, personal preference. Speed stamping, I keep on. And you can control whether it's mile per hour, kilometers per hour, and the same deal with GPS stamping. As you're filming the video, when you're watching the video on your computer or whatever, it'll show the speed that you were traveling, which is actually very helpful in case of a collision. Registration number stamp, I didn't mess with that, but you can get a registration number if you like. There's like a website and you put in the number, and that way the registration is linked directly to this. I really don't see any purpose in that, but hey, go right ahead. Date stamping, time stamping, I'm pretty sure that's self-explanatory, and you can set the date and time yourself. I've already done that. And then the language, it looks like it has English and some type, I'm guessing Russian or something like that. And then you can format the card. However, it is to be noted that if you have a card in the incorrect format, it will not format it to FAT32. So you're going to need like a PC to format the SD card into FAT32. Restore defaults is, of course, pretty self-explanatory, and then firmware version. One thing I want to recommend overall about the camera is the first thing you do when you get it out of the box is update the firmware. You can go to the NanoQ website, and I'll put the link in the description or something, or on the video. And you can actually download the firmware.bin. You just download it, you drop it directly into the SD card. Don't put it in any folders, just drop it right into the SD card. The next time this starts, it will automatically update the firmware. It takes 10 seconds, maybe 30 seconds. And it's real simple, it does it automatically. Just be sure that after the firmware updates, to make sure and delete the firmware.bin. Otherwise, every time you start the camera, it'll update the firmware. It doesn't detect that it's not been updated. Of course, it comes with this cord to connect to your PC, but I didn't really use the cord much. I did connect it one time to my PC just to make sure it worked. But in general, I use the FinalCam app to download all the video. It's just more convenient. I don't have to mess with any cords. I just grab it. I log into the Wi-Fi. This produces a Wi-Fi signal. I log right into the Wi-Fi and download the videos I want. So overall, I was very pleased with the Mini 0903. It's very tiny. You can put it out of the way. and set it and forget about it. The only downside is that I broke it, of course, but that's kind of my own fault. I tried to apply it to the windshield, pull it off like 5 times, and I got lazy and I used this to just jerk it off instead of being patient and trying to grab the bottom and pull it off. I don't blame the camera, but just to be careful when you're pulling this off the windshield should you need to pull it off the windshield. But really, this is a solid cam, records in 1080p and 30 frames per second. However, you know, that just comes down to personal preference. If you do want more than 30 frames per second, you're going to pay quite a bit more. So, you know, this may not be the best dash cam in the world. However, I feel like it is the best dash cam you can get at this at the price point of around the $80 to $100 range. So I definitely enjoy this dash cam. This is replacing my Mini 0806 as of today, and I'm very happy with it. I like the size, the screen's great, and to be honest, I don't think you could make them much smaller than this, considering the screen's 1.5 inches. This thing's, you know, not even 2 inches, or maybe exactly 2 inches across. So if you want a small dash cam that shoots 1080p, then this is definitely the choice for you. I hope you enjoyed my review of the Nano Q or the Mini 0903 today. Comments are always welcome at the bottom of the page. Subscriptions are always appreciated. Thank you. And if you have any specific questions, comments, or suggestions, please email me at GadgetGuideUSA@gmail.com. Thank you for your time.